Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be exploring the world of H.P. Lovecraft.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, so we've got the complete works right here, and we're going to be taking a look at some of the recurring themes and ideas that run through Lovecraft's work.
You know, it's really amazing when you look beyond just the surface level of like the monsters and the creatures and the horror.
Right.
You start to see these deeper anxieties that Lovecraft was grappling with.
Yeah, but what?
Like the anxieties about knowledge itself,
Yeah.
humanity's place in the cosmos.
Yeah, it's like he was really reflecting the anxieties of his time, right?
Exactly.
Like the rapid advancement of science and technology, and just that sense of humanity losing control.
Yeah, and all of that kind of gets poured into these stories. And what I find really fascinating is how he takes these like really specific, almost mundane details
Right?
to create this atmosphere of like creeping dread.
Totally. Yeah, and he's grounding the cosmic horror in everyday reality.
Exactly.
Like in The Shadow over Innsmouth, for example.
Oh, yeah. Great example.
Like he describes this decaying town
Uh-huh.
with such unsettling precision that you can practically smell the salt air and, feel the dampness in your bones.
Yes, it's masterful. And that actually brings us to one of the biggest themes, I think, in all of Lovecraft's work.
Okay, what's that?
The danger of forbidden knowledge.
Ooh, yes.
You know, that idea that there are certain things humanity is not meant to know,
Right?
and seeking that knowledge can have dire consequences.
Yeah, like in The Silver Key, right?
Yes.
Where the protagonist is searching for this hidden knowledge and it leads him down this path of isolation and madness.
It's a cautionary tale
Totally.
about the price of curiosity.
100%. And we see a similar theme, I think, in the case of Charles Dexter Ward,
Oh, absolutely.
where the pursuit of ancestral secrets unleashes all these terrifying forces.
Right. It's almost as if Lovecraft is saying, some things are better left buried.
Like literally and figuratively.
Exactly.
Wow. It makes you wonder, though.
What's that?
Like, what anxieties of our own time are being reflected in, the stories we tell today?
That's such a great question. And I think it really speaks to the enduring power of Lovecraft's work. You know, he was tapping into something very fundamental about the human experience.
Right.
Our fear of the unknown, our desire for knowledge, and that tension between the two.
Absolutely. Okay, we've talked about forbidden knowledge, but another big theme in Lovecraft is ancient civilizations.
Oh, yes, he's obsessed with them.
Yeah, and he seems to suggest that, what we know about history is just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
And beneath it lie these, ancient, powerful forces that could, shatter our world.
Yeah, you see that really clearly in The Strange High House in the Mist.
Ooh, good one.
You have this seemingly ordinary house perched on a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And yet within it, there are these strange otherworldly beings
Yeah.
that hint at this ancient history that we can barely comprehend.
It's a good reminder that we're not the center of the universe.
No, we are not.
You know, there were civilizations before us, and there might be civilizations after us, and we're just this tiny blip.
Exactly. And that idea of humanity's insignificance, in the face of these vast ancient cosmic entities,
Right.
that really comes to the forefront in the dream quest of unknown Kadath.
Okay, tell me about that.
So you have the city, Sarnath, once a flourishing civilization.
Uh-huh.
It's wiped out by this vengeful god,
Oh, wow.
leaving behind only ruins and the sense of awe at the power of these beings.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting, I think.
Okay, I'm listening.
Lovecraft blurs the lines between dreams and reality
Yes, he does.
in such a masterful way that it makes you question your own perception.
Absolutely. And he uses dreams, I think, as a way to explore the fragility of the human mind.
Totally. Like in the case of Charles Dexter Ward,
Another great example.
dreams become these portals to other worlds and times, and the protagonist is constantly struggling to figure out what's real and what's not.
It's mind-bending.
Totally. And then in The Whisperer in Darkness, the protagonist has these vivid, disturbing dreams of a pre-human civilization,
Right.
and it leaves him questioning his sanity and the very nature of reality.
It's like Lovecraft is saying that the things we believe to be true might be just as fragile as a dream.
That's a good point.
Right.
It's like he's really tapping into that uncertainty
Yeah,
and the limits of our perception.
totally. So we've talked about the dangers of forbidden knowledge,
Yeah.
the vastness of ancient civilizations, and this blurring of dreams and reality.
Yeah. What else makes Lovecraft Lovecraft?
His use of setting, oh my God.
Ooh, tell me.
He's a master of setting the scene. And he doesn't rely on jump scares or gore.
Right.
He builds this atmosphere of dread through these really detailed descriptions of places that should feel familiar but are somehow off.
Yeah, like the landscape and the color out of space.
Ooh, yes, perfect example.
It's so desolate and corrupted.
Uh-huh.
Like this otherworldly entity has twisted the natural world into something alien and terrifying.
Just reading those descriptions makes your skin crawl.
It really does. It's not about what jumps out at you.
Right.
It's this growing unease that something is deeply fundamentally wrong with the world.
Exactly. And that brings us to what I think is one of the most terrifying aspects of Lovecraft's work.
Okay, I'm ready. What is it?
His depiction of humanity's place in the cosmos.
Ooh, yeah.
It is bleak, to say the least.
Too bleak.
His stories often feature these, powerful, ancient entities like Tulu,
Right.
who represent this vast and utterly indifferent universe.
We're just a fleeting footnote.
We are nothing.
Oh my God.
And that realization, I think, can be utterly terrifying.
Right.
It forces us to confront the possibility that we might be completely
In
insignificant.
a cosmic scale.
Yes.
Yeah, that is scary.
It's a challenging idea,
Uh-huh.
and I think Lovecraft explores it with chilling effectiveness.
But even though his work can be super unsettling,
Oh, yeah.
there's something about it that just keeps people coming back for more.
It's addictive.
It is.
It's like we can't look away.
What do you think that is?
I think it's because Lovecraft's stories tap into these very primal fears that we have.
Yeah, like what?
Our fear of the unknown, our fascination with the unknown, and our desire to understand our place in the universe.
Right.
It's that combination of horror and wonder that I think makes him so compelling.
I agree, even decades after his death.
Totally. Speaking of compelling,
Yeah.
remember how we were talking about Lovecraft using these incredibly specific details to heighten the horror?
Yes!
I think it's time we dig into some specific examples.
You're right. Let's give our listener a taste of that Lovecraftian magic.
Perfect. Are you ready for some truly unsettling descriptions?
Let's do it. I'm ready to be thoroughly creeped out.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
All right, so let's start with the color out of space. Remember how we were talking about Lovecraft's use of setting? Well, in this story, he introduces this color, and it's not like any color you've ever seen before. It's otherworldly, indescribable, and it slowly corrupts everything it touches.
It's like a physical manifestation of the alien right. And the way he describes it, you can practically feel it seeping into your own senses, like twisting your perception of reality.
Exactly. He leaves it to your imagination to fill in the blanks, which is far more terrifying than any specific hue he could have described.
Oh, 100%. Our imaginations can conjure up some truly disturbing things.
For sure. Speaking of disturbing things, there's that description of Cthulhu in The Call of Cthulhu. He gives us these glimpses of impossible anatomy part, human part, something else entirely.
It's like a jigsaw puzzle of nightmares.
Yes.
And he only gives you a few pieces.
Yeah.
You're left to assemble this monstrous image in your own mind, and what you come up with is always going to be more terrifying than anything Lovecraft could explicitly put on the page.
It's true.
It's brilliant and terrifying all at the same time.
I know.
It's like he understood that the true power of horror lies in what we don't see, what we're left to imagine.
Absolutely. Speaking of things unseen, we have to talk about Lovecraft's use of dreams. They're not just plot devices, they're portals to other worlds, to the hidden recesses of the human psyche, and to the lurking horrors that exist just beyond our waking perception.
They represent this liminal space where reality breaks down and anything is possible. Like in the case of Charles Dexter Ward, those dreams are so vivid, so tangible, that the protagonist starts to question what's real and what's not.
Exactly. And Lovecraft doesn't just describe the content of the dreams. He captures the very feeling of dreaming.
Oh, yeah.
The disorientation, the loss of control, the sensation of falling into the abyss.
It's like he's tapping into our primal fear of the unknown, the feeling that even in sleep, we're not truly safe.
And that sense of vulnerability, of being at the mercy of forces beyond our understanding,
Yeah.
that's really at the heart of cosmic horror.
Which brings us back to Lovecraft's depiction of humanity's place in the universe. It's a theme that runs through so many of his stories, this idea that we're not the center of creation, that there are these ancient, powerful beings who are completely indifferent to our existence.
Right, like in The Call of Cthulhu, where the
Right.
very existence of Cthulhu and the other great old ones challenges everything we thought we knew about the universe and our place in it.
It's a humbling, even terrifying realization, and yet there's a strange kind of awe in it, too.
Absolutely. It's that sense of wonder and the vastness and mystery of the cosmos. Even if that vastness contains things that might drive us mad, just by looking at them.
It's a strange paradox. Lovecraft stories can fill us with dread, but they can also make us feel incredibly small and insignificant, which can be surprisingly liberating.
It's like facing your deepest fears and realizing that on a cosmic scale, they might not be that big of a deal after all.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about Lovecraft's masterful use of detail, his blurring of dreams and reality, and his exploration of humanity's place in a vast and often terrifying universe.
But what does it all mean for our listener? What's the takeaway from this deep dive into Lovecraft's world?
That's a great question. And I think the answer is that Lovecraft's work is a reminder that the universe is full of wonders and horrors that we may never fully understand.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
In fact, it's part of what makes life so interesting.
It's about embracing the mystery, acknowledging our own limitations, and maybe even finding a little beauty in the darkness.
But there's one more thing I think we need to address before we move on. Something that's often overlooked in discussions of Lovecraft.
What's that?
The theme of isolation. Like so many of Lovecraft's characters are outsiders,
Oh, yeah.
cut off from the rest of humanity,
Yeah.
either physically or emotionally or both.
Right. It's like they exist on the fringes of society.
Yeah.
Haunted by something that sets them apart, like the
That's right.
protagonist in The Outsider,
Yeah.
who's literally living in darkness, hidden away from the world because of his monstrous appearance.
Right.
Like, he's such a stark representation of that feeling of being completely alone.
Totally.
Ah.
And even those characters who are like physically present in society
Yeah.
often feel this profound sense of alienation, like they don't belong.
Like the narrator in The Shadow over Innsmouth,
yes,
who like slowly realizes his unsettling connection to those strange, isolated townsfolk.
right. He's caught between two worlds belonging to neither.
Yeah. It's a powerful reflection of that, universal human experience of feeling like you don't fit in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even if we haven't encountered any cosmic horrors,
Right.
most of us, I think, know what it's like to feel isolated, to be the outsider looking in.
Totally. And Lovecraft captures that feeling so perfectly.
He does.
It's one of the things that makes his stories resonate with readers even today, I think.
I agree.
So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into Lovecraft's world,
Yeah.
what would you say is like the most important thing for our listeners to take away?
I think Lovecraft's work serves as a powerful reminder that the universe is a vast and mysterious place, and we humans may never grasp its true nature.
Yep.
There are forces and entities out there that might be beyond our comprehension, maybe even beyond our control.
It's both humbling and a little bit frightening.
It is.
Yeah.
But it can also be oddly liberating, I think.
How so?
Once we accept the limits of human knowledge and power,
Yeah.
we can start to appreciate the beauty and wonder of the unknown. We can embrace the mystery.
And maybe even find some beauty in the horror.
Perhaps
Oh, right.
there's a certain allure to confronting the things that scare us,
Yeah.
to peering into the darkness and seeing what stares back.
Well, you've given us a lot to think about today.
I hope so.
Thank you so much for guiding us through this strange and unsettling world of H.P. Lovecraft.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, if you've enjoyed this deep dive and you want to kind of experience that Lovecraftian blend of horror and wonder for yourselves, we highly recommend checking out the complete works of H.P. Lovecraft.
Just be prepared to sleep with the lights on for a while.
Until next time.